Hello everyone, welcome to Teacher Susan Fun Science channel. Today we are going to look into genetics, focusing on the subtitle Inheritance. What is inheritance? Inheritance is the transmission of traits from parents to children. Trait means a certain characteristic that we can obtain from our parents. The traits or the character from the parents to us are always special, and they can be determined by a gene or a group of genes. For example, blood group, the color of our eye, all these are examples of inheritance we can get from our parents. Before we can move on to understand how this trait or characteristic can pass down from our parents to us, let us know what is allele first. Allele is a pair of genes which is located in a specific location inside our DNA. There are two types of alleles, dominant and recessive alleles. Normally, for dominant alleles, we will use capital letter to represent it, while for recessive allele, we will use the small letter to represent it. For dominant allele, whether we have one capital letter or two capital letters, they will show the characteristic. However, for recessive allele, we need to have both small letter in order to let the characteristic show up. Let us look at some example of dominant and recessive traits characteristic. Okay, when we able to roll tongue, it is dominant. Not able to roll tongue, recessive. Free earlobe is dominant. Attached earlobe is recessive. More example of dominant and recessive. For those who are having black hair, it is dominant. Blonde or brown hair is recessive. For those who have curly hair, it is dominant. Straight hair, not from the salon, straight hair is recessive. Before we can study more details about inheritance mechanism, let us know who is the scientist who discovered this mechanism. Mendel is the one who have done an experiment with a purebred peas and discovered the Monohybrid Cross using in the inheritance mechanism. This Monohybrid Cross is a study focusing on one type of trait or characteristic only. It can be used to determine the characteristic in plants, animals, and even human. The example of the trait, single trait that we normally can use through monohybrid cross, it will be the height, color of the fur, and even used to determine the gender of human. And to make things simple, the inheritance can be studied, can be shown using schematic diagram as you see on the right hand side of your slide. Well, in this slide, there are certain terms that we normally use in the schematic diagram. So I hope students, you can understand what are the terms that we are using, like phenotype, genotype, F1 generation, F2 generation, offspring, homozygous genotype, and heterozygous genotype. Yeah. The first example of the schematic diagram that I want to show here is the homohybrid inheritance of height for a purebred plants with dominant and recessive allele. As you can see on the slide, the first plant showing a dominant homologous allele, while the second plants will show you the recessive homozygous allele. Both of these plants will undergo meiosis to separate the genetic information into gamete. And these gamete will undergo fertilization to form F1 generation. As you can see in the F1 generation, the genotype of each child will be slightly different from the parents. In the second example, the schematic diagram showing a monohybrid inheritance of fur color in cats, animal. Both cats that use as parents are having heterozygote genotype, big B and small b. Alright, so this genetic from each parents who undergo meiosis process again to form into different gamete. The gamete will undergo fertilization and form 4 different possibilities of the F1 generation. The third example that I want to show here is a schematic diagram showing monohybrid inheritance of type of ear loops in human. Okay, similarly, we will start off the schematic diagram from a genotype of a parent. So from here, we can see that both parents are homozygote. Okay, after meiosis, they will form gamete, and the gamete will undergo fertilization to form F1 offspring. The last example of today, it will be slightly complicated because we are going to show you the schematic diagram to determine the gender of human. In human, okay, we have both autosome and sex chromosome in order to determine the gender. And you can see from the screen here, a male gender will determine by 44 plus XY, and a female gender will determine by 44XX. So during the meiosis process, these genetic content will be separated into gamete for a father who has 22 plus X or 22 plus Y. And for mother, the ovum only contains 22 plus X. Well, actually in human, there are altogether 23 pairs of chromosome, 22 pairs of autosome, and 1 pair of sex chromosome. For a lady, our chromosome is 44 plus XX. During meiosis process, the ovum that produced by the girl is 22 plus X only. And for a boy, the chromosome is 44 plus XY. During meiosis process, male is able to produce 2 types of sperms. The first one is 22 plus X and the second one is 22 plus Y. People always asking, actually who is the one who determines the gender of a baby? A father or a mother? The answer is a father, because only father is able to produce 2 different types of sex chromosome, which is X or Y. If a baby is formed through the combination fertilization between chromosome X and chromosome Y from the father, therefore a baby boy is formed. The mother is unable to determine the gender of the baby because mommy only having chromosome X. Okay, before we end the session for inheritance today, let us do some questions on checkpoint 5.2. Enjoy the question. No worry, no worry. Teacher also prepared the answer for you to do your self-checking on all the question 1, 2, 3 for checkpoint 5.2. Well done kids, we have done today's session. If you still need any further explanation on the drawing of the schematic diagram for your example 1, 2, 3 or even example 4, do not you hesitate to click on the link provided in the next slide. Before I end, kindly like, share, comment my video and don't forget to subscribe my channel under Rainbow Susan. Hit the notification bell for more information. Thank you.